How do you go and monitor things in WebRTC? Chrome gives us a very powerful tool, which is called webrtc-internals. It's a tab that you can open inside Chrome alongside the actual call. Do that before you start a session. There you'll find a lot of the statistics, events, APIs, and other things that are important to understand what goes in a WebRTC call. Let's go and look at the WebRTC internal session that we're actually running now to record this call on StreamYard.
Yes, so if you open webrtc internals, you will see it's a page with different subtabs, which are shown here. So one that you typically start with is the Get User Media and Get Display Media tab, which has information on all the calls you made to these APIs. Then you have one tab per peer connection. And let me click on that. So that switches the view. You can see it goes to different connections. So you see the port here changed. It looks very similar. This one was added later, so it has more information. And the first problem you have here is which of these connections do you need to look at? That depends on your application and the problem you're seeing.
Okay. So we've got 3 of them, which means that StreamYard uses 3 different connections, possibly a few for uploading and a few for downloading the data. We know that there are such applications. What can we see inside each one of the peer connections, though?
Inside each of the peer connections, you have how the peer connection is configured. Here we see turn servers that are being used, some things like ICE transport policy and bundle policy. We see the state of the peer connection here, ICE connection state, overall connection state, and signaling state. We see what the ICE candidate pair that is currently being used is. So that tells you the local and remote IP address. Useful if you need to dump stuff in Wireshark and filter. We also see the ICE candidate grid, and that is not expanded by default, but can be expanded because it is going to be pretty huge.
Okay, and we have a separate video for that.
Correct.
Okay. Then the list of API calls here, that's the event log.
Yes, we have a separate video for that as well. And this is one where it gets important that you open the page before the connection gets made. Because if we look at this, here we get all the calls that were made on this connection, which was established before we open webrtc internals. We don't get those events. We get the current state, but no more.
Yes, here we see only 5 events that are actually history versus the other one where we see a lot more events that took place because this we didn't collect it on time.
Correct.
Okay. What else do we have here? I see that there is a stats table.
Yes, in this one we have stats being shown as, it's the same objects we get from getStats. This is basically a dump of that format. The timestamp.
We have a video about what exactly is a certificate and codec and candidate pair and local candidate and inbound RTP and all of these different types of objects and what they say, mean, and do.
Yes, and you can filter them. Like if you only want to look at inbound RTP, you only get those.
Yep. And then if you open one of them.
Yes. So the select candidate pair is shown in bold to make it easy to find. If you expand that, you will see graphs for this candidate pair.
And again, the graphs will start from the moment you open the webrtc internals tab, not before.
Yes. You can see that here on packets received, there's a huge jump here, which is when we started collecting.
Yep. Okay. Good. So that's what we've got in webrtc internals, and this we can do during runtime. What if I want to take this and then send it to someone to review? From time to time, I send you such files, for example, to look.
Yes. What you do then is to create a webrtc internal stamp, and I will typically, if you come to me with a problem, I'll be like, show me your webrtc internal stamp. You can download that one, and then you go to my stamp importer.
And there is a link for that below this video.
Yes. And then you can pick the file that you just downloaded, import it, and you will see something that's very similar to webrtc in terms of the to WebRTC internals in terms of information, but the layout is different.
And I think what's different is that this is done offline. So I don't have the real-time updates that I have on WebRTC internals, which means that if you scroll down, what we get is instead of seeing tables of statistics, we only have the graphs for them.
Yes. So for example, here we have the graphs, we have the updates to the peer connection, and we have the candidate pair. Let me fix the right one, which I think is this one. Yes. And then you can you get a single graph because the library that is being used is a bit more powerful than what WebRTC internal ships. And you can see things like calculated stuff WebRTC internals does. And the good thing about the dump importer, you can just turn off all data and just look at the graph you want.
Yep.
In this case, bytes received, bytes sent. You can zoom in to a certain range and do whatever you want with that.
Okay. So what we did was look at WebRTC internals, understand what are the components inside that data that we have, downloaded the file, and looked at the same data using the dump importer. And these are the powerful tools that we've got in WebRTC in order to be able to monitor and debug the applications that we're building. Okay. Thank you for that, Filippo.
Thank you.